Hello, in the last video we looked at a program that included a function where when you call the function you would go ahead and pass in one argument. What we're going to look at is when you want to go ahead and pass in multiple arguments to the function. So to give a function multiple parameters, you separate each parameter with a comma. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a function that takes in two parameters, multiplies them together, and then prints the result. So let me just go ahead and open up my file, a new file. And I will add a comment to the top. Program with a function that multiplies two numbers. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and define our function. We're going to give it a name of multiply, and the parameter names that we're going to specify are first number and second number. Okay, as you can see, my parameters are separated by commas, and then I will hit enter, and then now we need to write the body of our function. So we're just going to save our result by multiplying our first number and our second number times second number, and we're going to save it into the result. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and print the information out. So I'll just go ahead and print it. The result is, and again, you can use any type of way to print a string here. In this example here, I'm just separating the information by a comma. Okay, and then I'll hit enter a couple times, hit my delete key to go back to the global scope of my program. And then what I need to do is I need to enter my function calls. So first one, I'll call my function multiply, and I will pass in a 5 and a -5, and I will call it again, and this time I will go ahead and pass in a 10 and a 12. Okay, so I will go ahead and run my function now. So we will click on run, click on OK, and I need to save it. So I will save it as multiply. And click on save, and it'll run. So the first time through, our result is a -25, and the second time through, our result is 120. So what we're going to do next is we're just going to go ahead and visualize the execution of this program. So I will add that into my visualizer tool at the Python tutor site. And we will go ahead and visualize our execution. Okay, so again, Python reads that we've defined a function, so it'll just drop down into our main program scope. So what this line on line 8 does is calls our function, passing in the two arguments 5 and -5. I'll go ahead and click on next. So now you can see within our multiply locoscope, we have a first number equal to 5 and a second number equals to a -5. We'll go ahead and click on next. So what'll happen is line 4, it'll multiply first number by second number. I'll click on next, and it saves that result in our result local variable. And then I will go ahead and click on next, and it'll go ahead and print out the result is. And then the one thing you'll notice is that I have multiple spaces separating my S and the -25. And the reason why is because the comma, I've added a space within my single quotes, but the comma actually adds space by default. And then it'll go ahead and display the value stored in result. So if we go ahead and click on next, it'll drop back down into our main program. Our multiply function is now out of scope. Now we're going to call that same function again, passing in 10 for the first number, 12 for the second number. It'll go ahead, multiply those out, save the result in result. It'll go ahead and print the information out as 120. And then our program will end and our local multiply function scope is no longer available. So that kind of walks you through passing in multiple parameters into a function. And the one thing I want to let you know is that when you call the function, the order that you pass those arguments in does matter. For our case, it doesn't matter, but because we're just multiplying the two numbers out. But there may be cases where, say, for instance, if you're calculating some value and like the value, say, of a cylinder, and you need to specify both the radius and the height of the cylinder. And if you pass in the height, save it in a parameter that's specific to the radius, then when you do your calculation, that calculation will not work correctly. So you must ensure that you pass in the correct arguments in the order that the parameter related to that argument appears in the actual function itself. So that's all I wanted to cover in this video. What we're going to look at next time is how you can go ahead and write a function where you define a value for a default value for one or more parameters.